Yes. Good afternoon, students. Today's class is about ascending tracts, also called sensory tracts here. So, there are many sensory tracts which carry sensations from our peripheral part of the body, mainly from the skin and the subcutaneous tissues to the brain. And out of that, today we are going to discuss two types called dorsal and ventral spinocerebellar tract. Here itself, sensory tracts has got certain requirements that it will be connected from peripheral parts of sensory receptors, mainly cutaneous or subcutaneous receptors, and through spinal cord they will reach finally through passing through the brainstem to the higher centers of either brain or cerebellum here. So today is about spinocerebellar tracts, two types. They are called dorsal and ventral spinocerebellar tract. As the name indicates, starts from spino, word indicates it is definitely a sensory or ascending tracts, finally ending on the cerebellum here. So this is a little bit easy to remember here. So generally, sensory pathways includes feelings from the body such as sensations like hot, cold, pain, touch, transmitted to the skin and other parts of the body to the brain, whereas sensations are felt in the brain. These pathways are called as sensory pathways. So once signals enters the spinal cord, they are sent up to the brain. Different types of sensations are sent to different pathways. We call them as tracts. So what is a tract? Nothing but a bundle of axons or nerves carrying a particular sensations. If they are going in upward direction, we call it as sensory tracts. If they are coming from brain and through spinal cord, we call them as motor tracts. Motor means they will be finally influencing the muscles, movements, etc. So here is we are talking about only sensation, sensory tracts. The tracts that carry sensations of pain, temperature to the brain or in the middle part of spinal cord, and these are called spinothalamic tracts. Other tracts carry sensations of position and joint sense and light touch. These nerve impulses are carried along the uh, backside of the spinal cord in what are called as dorsal columns of the spinal cord. So sensory pathways can be posterior column pathway, spinothalamic pathway and spinocerebellar pathway. And the sensory pathways usually contain three neurons, three order neurons, in some areas two order neurons also, mostly three order. What do you mean by order neuron? Nothing but a neuron starting is called as first order neuron, second order neuron and interneuron located in either spinal cord in the brainstem. Third order neuron carries information to thalamus to the cerebral cortex. First order neuron mostly from the peripheral part of the body. So this is one picture to show you different names of sensory tracts are given here. Lateral spinothalamic tract, dorsal column lemniscal system, ventral anterior spinothalamic tract, dorsal posterior spinocerebellar and ventral anterior spinocerebellar tracts here. You can see on the left side lateral spinothalamic tract and anterior or ventral spinothalamic tract starting from spinal cord, ending on the thalamus and finally to the sensory cortex located in the parietal lobe called as primary sensory cortex, which is located in the postcentral gyrus of the parietal lobe. Brodmann area number 312 we call that. But here what today we are going to talk about is ventral or anterior spinocerebellar tract and dorsal or posterior spinocerebellar tract. You can see here where their ending is not in the sensory cortex. They are just starting here and ending on the cerebellum. That's why we call them as spinocerebellar tracts. So what is the sensation they carry also important here. So here you can see the oldest nomenclature given to the gray matter of the spinal cord here. These are the names given here. And you can see on the right side the latest nomenclature we call them as rexed or laminated laminae here, which are Roman number 1 to almost around 10 are there here. Okay, so 10 layered gray matter. Usually gray matter means either dendrites and cell body will be present. White matter around the gray matter is mainly contains the nerve fibers or axons of the neurons here. And you can see here, as we are seeing, we have to learn transverse section of spinal cord, very important, so that we can easily understand the tracts and the organization of the neurons in a proper order, also called as topographical, means medially what is fixed number of neurons and fixed neurons supplying to particular structures also present, middle part, lateral part, like that you can see here. If you remember this and the order they are arranged here gives a word called somatotopic organization or tonotopic organization of the neurons or tracts here. You can see a lateral most. This is anterior gray horn, also called ventral gray horn, which always includes the motor neurons. Motor neurons means neurons coming out supplying the muscles through neuromuscular junction. So here you can see the lateral most gray matter of the anterior gray horn is supplying these neurons to the flexors of the limbs. Okay. And similarly, if you go to lumbar segment, same thing, to the flexors of the lower limbs. Okay. So if you come to the little most lower part is extensors of the limbs, they are supplying. So like this distal part of the limb and proximal part of the limb, like that there is a proper. So the medially located are proximal part of the limb, means suppose arm is there, upper part of the arm muscle like biceps, triceps, deltoid is supplied. Distal part of the limb, these are the neurons supplying. Distal part means almost like forearm, like that. Supinator, pronator, extensors, flexors of the forearm, like that. Extensors. So extensors of the limb will be occupying the little medial and lower part. Lateral most is by the flexors of the upper limb, like this. So any damage to any medial, lateral, middle part or any tumor compressing here, that particular part of neurons are damaged and lead to the paralysis of the muscle or weakness of the muscles here. So this is called as a topographical arrangement of the neurons here. So this is a transverse section of spinal cord. Everyone has to learn it and practice it many times. And here right side sensory pathways are shown, left side motor pathways are shown, but we'll have both sides, both the type of motor tracts and both sensory tracts also distributed on either side equally. And here you can see the arrangement of fibers also in an order. Suppose this is dorsal column, cervical fibers occupying the lateral most part, thoracic, nerves, lumbar and sacral. And if you come to, this is anterior lateral spinothalamic tract, you can see the cervical fibers coming from the neck region occupying medial. Whereas here you can see they are occupying the lateral part. So even this is also little quite opposite. Cervical fibers pushed medially, occupied by the thoracic fibers. So as these are fibers coming from down, first sacral fibers occupies lateral most, next lumbar fibers joins little higher level, they will be occupying medial, and medial to that is thoracic and that is cervical. So this is a type of arrangement is called as topographical arrangement. So here spinocerebellar tracts, we just see which are occupying which funiculus or which white matter is lateral funiculus or lateral white matter. You can see here why it is called dorsal or posterior spinocerebellar tract, means in the lateral funiculus, little back side it is located, therefore it is called as posterior or dorsal spinocerebellar tract. Similarly, anterior or ventral spinocerebellar tract is little front of the dorsal spinocerebellar tract occupies, but which funiculus? Again, same lateral funiculus here. So this is what we have to remember when we are. So now we go to proper spinocerebellar tracts. Here they are divided into two parts: dorsal spinocerebellar or posterior spinocerebellar, and ventral or anterior spinocerebellar tract. Both are called as efferent pathways or sensory tracts. So how we name the tracts is, if the tract name begins with spino, means the tract is a sensory tract delivering information from the spinal cord to the cerebellum. If the tract name ends with the spinal, as in vestibulospinal, corticospinal, like that, they are the nothing but motor tracts that delivers information from the, suppose it is vestibulospinal, vestibular apparatus to the spinal cord here. So we are discussing about the dorsal spinocerebellar tract followed by ventral spinocerebellar tract. Any tract, try to remember from where they start, called site or situation, and how they enter into spinal cord and pass through different segments, either upward direction. So this is called origin, then entering into the spinal cord and descending upwards through spinal cord and entering brainstem, finally ending on the brain, or they are entering into brainstem and ending on the cerebellum. Here the dorsal spinocerebellar tract indicates that they are ending on the cerebellum. So from brainstem they will finally, where they end is called termination. So we divide the subheadings as site, origin, course, termination. And what is the functions they do? As it is a sensory tract, it will be carrying sensation. What sensations it carries, we have to see. And if this tract is damaged anywhere, what happens is studied under the aspect applied. Aspects means nothing but lesions at different levels. What is the abnormalities develops in the patient. So what is the sensation they mainly carry? We see here, we can call it as the function done by the spinocerebellar tract is nothing but we call it as proprioception, proper position of the body. That's why the word proprioception means sensation. It is also called kinesthetic sensation or joint sense. Kinesthetic means when we are moving the joints, the signals should go. That's why it is also called as kinesthetic sensation. Joint sense could be from the ligaments, tendons around the joints, and they will be giving the signals. So it is also called as joint sense. Okay. So proprioception. So certain receptors are present in the muscles and tendons, which will be continuously fraction of second giving information about our joints of different parts of the body, from neck region, upper limbs, from our what is a body parts, means vertebral joints and lower limbs, ankle joint, hip joint, and knee joint. Every time are they in a flexor position, how much length, how much force, how much strength they are flexing and extending and giving a comfortable position for our body here. This is about the proprioception. So what are the receptors? Is usually two types of receptors. One is called muscle spindle, which is present inside the muscle fibers. Usually skeletal muscle fibers, we call them as extrafusal fibers, and the receptors present on the tendons are called as Golgi tendon apparatus. So here you can see dorsal spinocerebellar tract. First entering through the dorsal greyhound, always sensory, will enter through dorsal greyhound, synapse here, and they will end on the Clark's column. From there they will ascend upwards here by passing through the dorsal part of the lateral funiculus of spinal cord and passes through the upper segments here, then enter into the brainstem here, brainstem, medulla, pons, and midbrain here. But here through inferior cerebellar peduncle they will enter into the cerebellum here and terminated there. Okay. So this is about the dorsal spinocerebellar tract. After entering here, passing through the white column of the spinal cord, they will enter into the medulla, connected by inferior cerebellar peduncle, and finally terminates here. So you can see roughly around one or two neurons only here synapsing here, two order neurons you can say. But here what is happening is, suppose this is the left side of the patient, the fibers entering on left side are synapsing on left side here. This is also called as ipsilateral supply of the fibers or tract. Similarly, ventral spinocerebellar tract. This will be roughly starting from upper part of the body, but they will be ascending upwards here. So you can see here, ventral spinocerebellar tract, what happens is, after they entering into the dorsal greyhound, they will cross to the opposite side, ascends upwards in the ventral aspect of the lateral white funiculus and through superior cerebellar peduncle, they will end on the cerebellum here. One more thing you have to remember, maybe in the picture not shown, is if they start on right side, cross to the opposite, but through superior cerebellar peduncle again enters into the same side here. They are also ipsilateral here. So the receptors here is also called deep receptors. They are called muscle spindle and Golgi tendon apparatus. This is Golgi tendon apparatus present on the tendons here. So the sensations carried are called unconscious proprioception, because conscious proprioception will be taken by the dorsal columns. So unconscious proprioception from lower limbs and lower half of trunk carried to the hind limb area of the cerebellar cortex. Ventral spinocerebellar tract carry motor copy of motor order from interstitial cells of spinal cord to the vertex. So mainly helps in regulation of posture, muscle tone and coordination of skilled movement. So we'll continue with the other tracts in the next class here. Okay.